Good morning, Raymond, Enimwa, and Malik.
Good morning. Good morning.
Great day, isn't it?
Yes, it's Bob Marley's birthday, so it's a super great day.
Okay.
Yes.
Happy birthday to the legend Bob Marley. Let's start, guys, with the junior graphic. Enimwa.
Okay, so girl 10 forced to be Kayayo to save money for marriage. I'll bring you more on that story a little later on. Number of BEC candidates drops for 2019 private exam, and the First Lady has started a campaign to fight HIV among children.
The Daily Statesman newspaper, boss ex-boss to face court. Iwadaku will answer for serious issues. Africa must not enrich others. Akufo-Addo urges mining in Daba in South Africa. And why does JDM want the presidency back? That's a question. And the last story on the front page of the Daily Statesman newspaper, First Lady marks World Cancer Day in Kumasi.
The Gold Street Business is reporting this morning IMF schedules final Ghana review for this month. Of course, we know program is supposed to end somewhere in April, and also 2019 appropriation increases by 11.492 billion. This is from 67 previously to 78 billion, and 3% on small-scale gold export begins, and that's a tax expectation there. Those are the stories the Gold Street Business is reporting this morning.
On the front page of the Ghanaian Observer, Professor Frimpong Boateng is not on the management team of Symphony Mining. House swears in new MP amid NDC boycott. Ghanaians blast NDC over bloody widow placards. Mining must make Africa prosperous, not poor. That's according to President Akufo-Addo, and center-right ideology could better serve the people. That's according to Vice President Dr. Baumia.
The Ghanaian Times newspaper, Tema public schools under siege, miscreants sleep, smoke and coke in schools. Minority boycotts swearing in of new Ayawaso West Wugon MP. President task African Mining, the story you just reviewed, and no tariff increase due to ECG legacy debt. That's the energy minister assuring.
Now, the Chronicle is reporting this morning, ban all vigilante groups. This according to the Delta Force commander. He's telling government to ban all vigilante groups and
plus or minus Delta Force.
Plus minus.
No, is it plus or minus? Okay, what else is on the front page?
Now, NDC MPs walk out on Sayram Al Hassan and head to police headquarters. That story is on the front page of the Chronicle too.
On the front page of the Daily Guide, kidnapper threatened to kill my girl. Witness exposes NCA gang. Government cushions Ghanaians with 232 million Ghana cedis, and Supreme Court affirms Charlotte Osei's sacking.
The New Crusading Guide newspaper, energy sector is back to life. That's the energy minister saying. Only Bagman has a strategy to handle MPP. That's NDC delegates.
Now, the finder is the very last paper before me today. Scrapped fuel taxes cost the nation 232 million Ghana cedis, and also Ghanaians blast NDC MPs. That story is in virtually all the newspapers. The other story is establish a judicial inquiry into Ayawaso violence, and this is a man whose name those days resonated a lot of fear. Kofi Totobikwache.
Right, okay. And finally, the Daily Graphic on the back page, 3 convicted of forcing students to eat raw chicken. On the front page of the Daily Graphic, Supreme Court throws out Kweku Bako over removal of Charlotte Osei, and police take statements from 16 victims of Ayawaso West war gun violence.
So, Malik, the energy minister says we won't pay more tariffs.
Yes, so you know that there were fears that once the concessionaire takes over the electricity company of Ghana, because there is this legacy debt of $2.4 billion, which dominated the discussion sometime back last year and the year before, there were expectations that once a concessionaire takes over and will not have the motivations that governments have had to introduce subsidy and to cushion the Ghanaian citizen and pile up debts, utility tariffs will go up, especially in terms of electricity. But the Energy Ministry is assuring that this will not happen because the government in its negotiations with the concessionaire agreed that the concessionaire will not take any liability for the legacy debts, and therefore there will not be any reason for them to increase any electricity tariffs. And the Deputy Energy Minister announced this yesterday at a press briefing, Meet the Press, where some of these matters came up, and he was answering a question whether there will be any new tariffs or tariff increases as a result of the legacy debt. At the same press conference, Isaac Osei, who is the chief executive of TOR, also complained that TOR is performing under its capacity. They are refining only 25,000 barrels of crude oil when they could do up to 45,000. He thinks that if they continue to perform under its capacity, it is not good for the company.
But on the issue of tariffs, it doesn't totally rule out the increase in tariffs.
Not at all. It just says that there will not be increase as a result of the legacy debt.
Okay.
And we know what the legacy debt is. And we know that processes are underway to make payments for
Right.
that legacy debt. It's the reason why it's not been passed on to the concessionaire.
To the new concessionaire. Raymond, let's talk about the fuel taxes that are being scrapped.
So it's still related to the legacy debt conversation. Of course, the minister even indicated that so far her debt stands around somewhere around $2.6 billion in this case. Of course, they started with 2.4 billion. We have an Energy Sector Levies Act, which is supposed to rake in some money and clear some part of the debt. Now, the minister has also been talking about how much our attempts to reduce the energy sector levies that is affecting us. In fact, he's saying that so far we've actually been able to not raise. We've lost 232 million in the process of trying to bring down some taxes. Remember that public licensing levy was reduced, other taxes were also reduced.
Rural electrification.
Yes, rural electrification was also remodeled when the MPP came into power and said that we're going to make sure you are comfortable with the reduction of some of these taxes. Again, government also proceeded with pressure. You know, there are some specific levies like the one on stabilization levy, which was also reduced, and government said the taxes on fuel has been reduced by almost 30% since it came into office. That's the cost we are looking at in this case.
232 million.
2 million. The estimation, to be fair, was that it was going to cost us some 300 million to make that reduction. But it looks like we've managed it somewhat well in that particular space. The fear in this case is how long is it going to take us to clear the energy sector legacy debt and not incur more, so that we don't get ourselves into the problems that predated this. And that's what he's been speaking to. Indeed, he's been talking about the other related facts too. He says so far in the sector we have 44% of local content so far, which is an improvement from what used to be 15-12% previously. You know, the local content is having Ghanaians participating in the space.
Exactly.
Of course, government is seeking to streamline by using the public bidding and all of that. There are still complaints, though, about a lot of cronyism and other things in the selection of local partners for some of these, what they call it, big-time oil blocks and energy relations.
And is this real, tangible local content participation, or this is just
Ghanaians representing
fronting for foreign companies pretending to be
that they are big
local companies.
Foreign companies who just recruit some two Ghanaians, they register companies in their name, and they now are taking over the business
and they are
that
still
was
repatriating
supposed
the profit.
to be.
And they are still repatriating
That
the
is
profit,
the
which will
problem
be
in this
which will be the
case.
problem. Okay, on the question of the 232 million, we know it's a cost to government, but I wonder if we are able to compute the savings or the gains to the average person who is buying fuel at the pump. That's also another question we would have to look at. But anymore, let's talk about what happened in Parliament yesterday.
Okay, so a cross-section of the Ghanaian public have taken to social media to express their disdain and to blast the misogynistic, in quotation marks, MPs, the NDC MPs led by Minority Chief Whip Mohammed Mubarak Muntaka. So if you've been following the story, they know that yesterday Lydia Hassan was sworn in as MP for Ayawaso West Wogon. In the process of the swearing in, the NDC MPs walked out. The thing that is getting most people going really is not so much the walking out and their protest. And what they're protesting is the violence that took place as Ayawaso Wogon, and also trying to get justice for their friend Sam George after he was brutalized in quotation marks again. The thing that's actually getting people very upset is the labeling of Lydia Hassan, because you remember that there were placards held up which read Bloody Widow. And a cross-section of Ghanaians have been talking about it, saying that it's very unreasonable, it's very insensitive in a time when we've been calling for women to get up and take up political roles, getting women into parliament, labeling women by circumstance. A lot of people are saying that we're not dealing with the issue, we're actually making her the issue when it's not. And unless the EC declares that the election is null and void, or that her winning is not constitutional, there's nothing really that can be done. But apart from that, it's also this attack on this woman. Anyway, the minority addressed the press later on. They said that this is the beginning of a series of democratic actions to protest against state-sponsored violence, and they're taking their constitutional rights to uphold and defend the Constitution very serious. The police also issued a statement, said that the IGP has ordered the expansion of the committee tasked to investigate the shooting. They've taken statements from 16 victims so far. So in terms of the shooting and the violence, investigations are underway. But generally, Ghanaians are very upset with the NDC parliamentarians for labeling Ms. Al-Hassan a bloody widow.
And not only did they walk out of Parliament, they actually marched to the police headquarters to stand with their brother Sam George, who was going to see the police. So when they got there, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo reported on the Midday News yesterday that he went along with some 4 other members of Parliament in a closed-door meeting with the IGP. And afterwards, of course, is when later in the day the IGP released that statement.
Many of them were lawyers, and it is to be expected.
Yes, Inus Afuseni, and
James Agalga,
who, of course, is the minority spokesperson on defense and interior. So this is really
because he's been a former deputy interior minister.
Exactly, exactly. So there was a lot happening in Accra yesterday, but a lot of people are ticked by this bloody widow comment, which, of course, we shouldn't single her out because she's a woman. That would be quite unfair. But let's go to the Supreme Court now, Malik.
Yes, so the Supreme Court yesterday gave out a number of rulings. One of them being the decision that the case which was brought by Abdul Malik Kwekubaku, editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide, challenging the removal of Charlotte Osei from office as Electoral Commission chairperson, that there was no merit. In fact, what the court did was to decline jurisdiction, that its jurisdiction was not properly invoked. And essentially, Kwekubaku's argument was that he did not, and he did this with his lawyer, he did not think that the petition which formed the basis for the removal or the recommendation which followed the removal of the Charlotte Osei from office was proper, and that the petitions was based on infractions, and these are procurement infractions. And the argument was that if you look at Article 146, which says that a person in her position can only be removed from office on grounds of stated misbehavior, there are cases that this is narrow. That stated misbehavior must be directly linked to the performance of her core duties as Electoral Commission chairperson, and not a broad matter, so that if somebody has any domestic issues, nobody should be able to bring a petition in relation to that, because that has nothing to do with the person's core duties. And that there were cases, there was a particular case, a celebrated one, a J-Chum, which was held by the Supreme Court itself, which says that a petition was not valid because it had been leaked to the media, and that was not supposed to happen. The argument of Samson Ladanyerin, who is lawyer for Kwekubaku in this case, was that the petition relating to procurement infraction was so broad, it was not directly linked to the core functions of the Electoral Commission chairperson, and therefore that petition was not valid. Well, the Supreme Court said that its jurisdiction was not properly invoked, and therefore it declined to hear the matter. And so the case was dismissed.
So this was really a procedural matter.
Absolutely.
The jurisdiction was not properly invoked. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so there are still grounds open for them.
So they didn't go into the
merits of the case. So it's still
all
available to them. But Mr. Bako has said that even though he doesn't agree with them, he will accept the results.
Absolutely, yes. That's what I say. And you know that he tends to be very constitutional in his thinking, and it's not surprised that he would hold that view.
Raymond, let's go to the school where inadequate number of desks are forcing pupils to lie prostrate on the classroom floor.
And this is in the Upper West region, the youngest region in the country, until the new ones come on board anyway. But we are talking about the Hamile, specifically in the Lambusie district. Now, there is a classroom block, but this classroom block for kindergarten students have actually been given to those at the junior high school level because they need to prepare very well for their examinations. Now, what's happening is that the kids at that level are then having to not only deal with space, but the kids who don't have enough space to sit will have to lie down before they can write. Of course, this is not the first time we're doing a story like that. Remember the popular Dr. Baumia going to donate some furniture to a school and government sending more than usual.
Very primary school.
Very good. Oh, you say it in a different way. Okay, so no, we had Percy.
Yes.
But, clearly.
But he's a native of the area.
So wireless don't have S in their sound.
As
so
H.
S is always H. So they will say Kumahi instead of Kumasi.
Interesting.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's get back to the story, Raymond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking for S's. so the pupils of St. Mary, about 487 of them, still do not have a place. And this is basic. I mean, we should get kids interested in education. One of the things that the kids who are interested in education will be happy about is going, sitting, enjoying the time they stay in school. On the other side, their clothes are also getting very, very wary, and it is impossible for them to consistently wear other clothes and come to school. So when they come to school, it will be dirty. Very soon, you have to replace it.
Yeah.
So they don't have new school uniforms, and yet they don't have places to sit, which is compounding their problems. And the students are dropping out of school by the day. And this is what the call from the district is supposed to be. In fact, there are people who have actually pledged to support and give them desks, but it's not coming. The GES is also very much aware of their condition, but has not been able to provide them. When you go on the other side, there is a school in the Namdong district too. That school also has desks, but doesn't have a shelter. So there's no school for them. They are under some big tree. Threat of rainfall, the school ends. If it's 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 12. If the teachers are lucky, they can get the kids back in school if the rainfall is done by, let's say, 4 p.m. And if their kids are still interested in coming. And this also forces the numbers down in a very terrible way. This is the underbelly of our educational structure, which delivers success at some ends. We cannot consistently have these sections of our society cut off and expect them to compete with the likes from Animoa School, GIS, and also from the other one,
Morningstar.
Very good. From other schools who are actually in a very comfortable mode and also being taught the very best. I'm not talking about curriculum development. I'm not talking about the quality of the standards, because we do know that when we did our early grade reading assessment, these kids, 94% of them could not read. In fact, the number who could not read and not understand is 98%. And that's how serious the condition was.
They can't recognize a four-letter word.
Yes, they can't actually. They look at the words, they can see A, B, C, D, but cannot put them together. That's how terrible the situation is.
Which is one of the questions that Prof. Stephen Ade asked yesterday when he talked about how people write BEC, they pass the BEC, but they are still part of the statistic where they can't even read a four-letter word. I don't know how that is possible, but then again, there are more questions for us to answer. Any more?
Yes.
Kaya to save money for marriage.
Yes. So I'll do that story in a second. But before that, I just wanted to touch on the story that we did 2 weeks ago and last week about Kofi, the little boy whose hand was cut off. We have heard rumors, or there has been reports that the Minister for Gender is going to adopt him. She has started the process of adopting him. It's interesting though, because when she went to see him in the hospital, there was another boy, if you remember, 2 years ago, Kweku Lentil. He's 2 years now, but he was buried alive, and he was rescued by some people, and he has been in the hospital for the past 2 years because he has nowhere to go. So she's adopting him as well. And then there's a 10-year-old girl who has come from the north to come and be a Kayayo. I'm wondering if the minister is going to adopt her as well, because, I mean, it doesn't seem like a sustainable plan. So as much as we appreciate that this is what she's doing, we need structures in place that can actually take these children and take them through the process of life, school and everything. Anyway, so this is a story about a 10-year-old Kayayo girl who has come to Accra to come and work to save money for, guess what? Not for school, for marriage. So that her the price that you give, the dowry can be paid. Her mom put her on a trotro, sent her to Accra. She's living with an auntie of some sort. She makes about 20 cedis a day, 15 cedis a day, gives it to this auntie to hold for her so that when she's made enough, she can go back to the north and get married. She's not currently going to school. She says she's never been to school, never stepped in a classroom. And the thing that she's looking forward to is going back to the village and becoming somebody's wife. Not sure at what age. So there's a lot of issues with children in the newspaper this morning. And so, yes.
So many questions I have. What sort of society would raise a girl to aspire to only to get married?
Daniel, 12 years ago when I was an intern at the Daily Graphic, I interviewed a Kayo, 13-year-old Kayo who was married and only came to Accra to do exactly this, to work, raise money, buy cooking utensils and go and live with her husband. 13 years. And this
what was her husband doing?
This was 12 years ago. She was actually the third wife. And so she was... Yes, she was a third wife.
And she was working to raise money.
Yes, so she came to Accra
to buy cooking utensils.
You raise money, buy cooking utensils, and she told me. And I went to interview her with a cousin of mine who is now a lawyer. Then went to interview this girl. And she said she needed to raise money, buy the utensils, so that she doesn't have to go to her rivals, her senior rivals, to
For
pick,
utensils.
yes, to take their utensils to prepare food for her husband.
And so this 13-year-old girl's a Kayo in Accra,
Yes.
exposed to the elements. We know about sexual abuse and rape amongst the Kaya because they don't have places to sleep and all of that.
She was
And
sleeping on packed used tires, car tires. That's
And-
where she was sleeping
and
when we did the
12
interview.
years down
And this
the
is
line.
Absolutely. That's a
12
fundamental
years
point I
down
wanted
the
to
line,
make.
what
that
has
This was
changed?
12 years ago. 12 years down the line, we are still,
still
in
doing
the
the
same
same
place.
Wow, Malik, you let's move on and give us this update on this boss who is going to court.
Yes, so the Daily News, the Daily Statesman story is that former boss, Iwadako, is to face court. Their case is at yesterday's press conference, Mohammed Amin Adam, who is a deputy energy minister in charge of petroleum, hinted that a committee which was set up by the president to investigate the management of BOST has submitted its report to the president, and that the report contains some serious matters that are also themselves under investigation, and that on the basis of the findings of the committee and the further investigations that are being conducted, the Statesman newspaper is reporting that Mr. Iwadaku is likely to face court, and they regurgitate some of the stories that we have heard in the past about the lodgement of some 40 million Ghana cedis into Chief of Staff Sundries, an account named Chief of Staff Sundries, and they believe that there was no proper documentation or explanation as to why this amount of money was lodged into this account, which was managed by the Chief of Staff.
You're trying to get answers for that particular question on the Sundries account, but
Yeah.
a petition has been sent to the special prosecutor on that matter. So maybe we expect that Mr. Martin Amidu would be working on that and a number of other issues that have come up. But Raymond, before we finish, mining must make Africa prosperous, not poor. Who's saying this?
The president of the Republic of Ghana has been speaking in South Africa on this particular matter. Of course, South Africa is a very huge place when it comes to mining. And we in Ghana, too, until the problems that Anglo Gold Ashanti had, also had a very huge mining sector working out the way it's supposed to be. But the big monies that leave the country because of gold exports alone, we've been talking about this year consistently. The reality is that it doesn't reflect in the lives of the ordinary people. Some years ago, studies done by Achwaye and Co. suggested that even those in Obuasi, they would have preferred that there was no mining in the place over a longer period than the current situation they find themselves. When they really looked at the impact as against the benefits to the people, they realized it was very minimal. Not long ago, there's been complaints about we not having Ghanaians actively participating in the mining sector. I've heard ministers ask, so who are the Ghanaian people who are owning the big mining firms in this country today? And those are the concerns being raised. The president is saying that if mining is not going to promote the lives of the people, there is no need for it to happen.
Yeah.
I hope that will reflect the current Ghanaian policy in that particular area, so that we will say that we are not giving concessions so far as it's not reflecting the lives of the people and we not see the tangible evidence. One of the low reasons, and it's been an undertone, one of the reasons why people have actually given for the Galamsey thing was that if people mine for a very long time and took our lands and took whatever, and we suffered at the end of it, what prevents us from getting the money into our pockets?
Yeah.
After
And
all,
that was the
they all result in
justification people
distractions
had.
anyway.
It's true. Because if you go to Takwa, and of course I'm not agreeing that it's a good justification for
Of
Galamsey
course.
because Galamsey destroys our environment. But if you go to Takwa, studies have shown, I heard former Minerals Commission boss Dr. Tony Obin say this at a lecture once, that $25 million passes through that town every week because of mining revenue that is repatriated. And I mean, which street in Takwa looks like $25 million a week? You can answer that for me. I'm going on to the online news review. It's brought to you by Zenith Bank and your best interest, Goyle Good Energy. Now, it's a new year, and it's still good energy with Goyle, your reliable energy partner. Enhancing your engine performance and prolonging the life expectancy of your vehicle should be a top priority. So continue to get the best quality and value for money from Goyle Super XP and Diesel XP and trusted range of lubricants from our 360 service stations across the country. To all our valued customers, we say thank you. We value our partnership with you. Because of you, we are still number one and still CIMG Petroleum Company of the Year. Let's continue the partnership to build our economy. Goyle Good Energy, Goyle, proudly Ghanaian Goyle. Yenara Yedia. Now, go light, bank light with Zenith Bank. How? Via Zenith Internet Banking. Use Zenith Bank's upgraded internet banking service to effect instant transfers, view account statements, top up investments, and so much more. Sign up for free and bank light with Zenith Bank. Zenith Bank, always in your best interests. James Agalga, whom we referred to earlier, is calling for the removal of Brian Echampo. That's the National Security Minister. That's on myjoyonline.com. Police expand committee to investigate Ayawaso by-election shooting, what Enima was talking about earlier. And adumonline.com says 3 police officers have been attacked at gunpoint at Kakpaili, a suburb of Tamale in the northern region. Get those details on adumonline.com. Time for the BBC News at 7. We'll be back afterwards.